Hi, I'm Andre Uzee, and today I want to share with you how to produce a coot decoy. The coot decoy is a very simple decoy. It's probably the simplest decoy that one could make. It involves a very small amount of woodworking and a small amount of painting. And I'm going to go through those steps with you. You'll see how quickly we can go through this. Of course, the first thing you need in order to make a wooden duck decoy is you're going to need some wood. I have two pieces of wood here to share with you today. This is balsa wood. You can buy blocks of balsa wood just like this on the internet. Amazon has them. There's other people who sell them as well. A piece of wood like this costs about $6. So for $6 you can get a piece of wood, balsa, in order to produce a decoy. The other piece of wood I have here is Tupelo gum. Tupelo gum is from a tree that grows mostly in the swamps of Louisiana. In front of me here, I don't know if you can see, is a piece of Tupelo gum. Actually, it's from the base of the tree. This particular piece of wood was taken from the swamps up in Greenburgh, Louisiana. Greensburg has many different Tupelo gums, and my dad and I actually harvested this piece of wood back in the mid to late 80s. So from this piece of wood and the other wood which I have here, we have made many coot decoys, and we'll continue to make some as we go down the road in the future. In order to start making the decoy, once you have the wood, because there is a decoy in this wood somewhere, and we just need to find it. That's the whole trick, is that somewhere in this wood is a decoy. So in order to do that, you need a pattern. And you can get a pattern from many different places. I showed you a book. You can go to books and find patterns. Or if you have a decoy, you can actually make a pattern from this decoy. So if we were to take this decoy and place it on top, we could etch around this decoy to actually make the shape of the decoy. To simplify that, I've already gotten a pattern for the coot, and I would put that on there, and with that I would take a marker and mark around to make my pattern of the bottom of the coot. Of course, once you have the bottom of the coot, you also have to have a side view of the coot, so that would be a view of this nature. I've also produced a pattern for that so that you could get that impression. So here would be a picture of the side. So we would mark that coot pattern, and then we are ready to go to cut out the body of the coot. To go one step further, you need to make the head. So I have a piece of wood here, and I would take the coot pattern for the head, and again I would mark that to give me the shape of the head. So now I have the body, and I have the head, and I have the side of the decoy. So you can see at this point, basically we've got the likings of a coot decoy. Now we just need to go find it by cutting this out. Now in the days when my father was cutting out coot decoys, his basic tool was the knife. Very difficult to cut with the knife. It was slow, wasn't as efficient as one could be. He then found a cutting tool which came out as and became more efficient. Well, today we have a more efficient knife than that, and this particular knife will cut large chunks out, and you could actually get down to the shape of the decoy in not too much time, okay? Now, to go further, today's modern equipment, we would use a bandsaw, and we would use a sanding device which would quickly allow us to make a coot. So let's take this piece of wood and let's go over to the bandsaw and the sanding device, and we will share with you how quickly we can make a coop with today's modern tools. All right, let's get on this bandsaw. We have the piece of wood. We have it marked out, both the side view and the top view. In this particular case, you can do either one first. You may have to remark the piece of wood if you do have any need to see a better view of it. But let's start off with this particular view right here, which is the side view. So we'll start off with that. See that we've already cut now the shape of the decoy from the side. So if we continued on with this, we would continue on and continue to shape it the way we've designed the pattern. I'm going to stop right here now and take you over here. We always said there's a decoy in a piece of wood, and so in this particular case I found this decoy here, which was very similar to what we have here. It's already been cut out, so we're trying to speed this process up and show you how this works. So here's the decoy, here's the side view of the decoy, and then of course here's the top view of the decoy. It fits the pattern that we talked about. So here's where we're at now. So we take this decoy and we'll next move to the head. We have to go to the head of the decoy. So here's the head of the decoy that we marked off with the pattern before. I have pre-cut this so that we can take and just remove the sections which I've prepared, and you can see that I can get this one off. Okay, so here's the decoy head which we just produced from the pattern that was shown in the previous step. Now it's time to take this and to sand this decoy head down in order to make it look more like a coop head. What I've got here is a beautiful sander that allows us to do that. It's a rotating sander, and this rotating sander would allow you to really sand this down in no time at all. But what I've got here is we're fortunate enough to have a pattern that was made by my father many years ago, and here he shared with us, found this in the closet when after he passed away. So here is a similar head to what we have here, a little bit different but very similar. Then from that step he took it down a little bit to a different size head. Then even further he carved it down with a sander and as well as with his knife until we get to a final head. So basically this is produced with the sander as well as with his carving knife. So now we have a head and now we have a body. And so now it's time to go put this decoy together to show you how the final assembly of this decoy. So now that we have the decoy that is cut and sanded, it's ready to be assembled. What we have done here is we have drilled a hole in the portion where the head will be mounted, and from that we will put in a small dowel. That dowel will be glued in. We use some wood glue. We would glue it in, and then we would also put some glue, drill another hole in the top of the head, and then that head would assemble onto the decoy such as this. So now you would have essentially the decoy assembled and ready to go. And ready for painting in a few more steps. Now, if you were to use this decoy for hunting, it's important that you put a keel on the bottom. So when the keel goes on, we drill some holes here, we'll put in some small dowels, and we'll put the keel onto the decoy. And you can see now we have a keel. Now what makes this decoy special is also the weight that goes onto it. These decoys require a small weight to be put on the bottom, and what this does is holds the decoy stable in the water. And then what we would do is we put a little weight. What's key here is that we put a small weight and we put it to the back of the decoy. And the reason we do that is because the head of the decoy has some extra weight to it, and if you put the weight on the back end of the decoy, then it gives it much better balance. So we would take this weight, we would get a couple of nails, and we would nail that in and hold that weight onto the decoy. So now you essentially have a finished decoy ready to be painted. Now, in order to paint the decoy, and I want to go to this next step, we've got a decoy here that has been assembled. It's ready to go. What I've done here is I have drawn onto this decoy where I would like the white nose to be. Since I have primed this decoy white, it makes it very simple in the sense of the white nose is pretty much already there. So what I want to do is I want to paint first the black for the head. The head is black. I have some black paint here. This particular paint is a very flat black paint. So this black paint is used. You can buy this on the internet just as I have done. And it doesn't take but a little bit of this black paint to cover the head on this decoy. We should be finished with painting this head in just a few minutes. Any black paint that you have would probably work. You can use a black paint from any paint set that you might have. I have bought this particular paint set. You can see it's multiple colors. You won't need them all to paint decoys, but you could use at least the key ones that you'll find. Black, in the case of this particular decoy, you're looking at black, and then you're looking at white and red. And I'll show you where the red goes in just a few minutes here. Okay, so now we have already painted the head of the coot. So that was quite easy, and if I finish painting it right, it'll look a lot better. There we go. Okay, now, so the head is complete. In order to just do a little bit better job on the beak, since I got a little black on there, I'm going to go ahead and paint a little more white on this beak. Clean it up a little bit. Okay, the head and the beak are now complete. Next we need to do the body. I have some black here. I have added a little bit of white to it to make it a little bit gray. If you look at a lot of the internet pictures, you might find that they're a little bit grayish in the back and not as much black. So I've already produced this paint, and now I want to put this on the back of the decoy. Again, it's not taking very long. Got a nice 3/4 inch wide brush here, painting this decoy. This particular joint line is not all that critical. What we're looking for here is a decoy that will attract ducks. So we're not looking for, in this particular case, we're not trying to be the best artist we can be. We're looking to produce a block of wood that looks like a decoy so that it'll attract other ducks to come sit in with our decoys so we can bring home some ducks. Okay, so that quick, and we are now finished with the head and the body. Now, what's next is we need to paint on an eye, and if you look at this particular decoy, it has a glass eye. We're not gonna, we can do a paint job or we can put a glass eye, and we're also gonna put a little red dot right here in front of the decoy. This is very typical of the decoys that you find. I'm gonna take out a little red paint here. This happens to be a vermilion red. You can pick out a different kind of red if you like. This particular paint here does show up quite well. I'm going to show you that right here. Okay. So now I'm going to paint this red. In this case, I'm going to paint an eye right here. I've always got a red eye. So we now have a red eye. I'm going to put a black dot in the middle of that in a moment. And we've got the red dot in front of the decoy. So now we have the coot with the red eye and the red dot in front. On the other side here, actually I have purchased some glass eyes. So if you want to purchase some glass eyes, you can get them over the internet, and you can put a glass eye in there to make it look a little bit more realistic. Okay, now what I want to do next is, because I painted an eye onto this, I want to take a little bit of black paint and I want to put a dot right in the middle of that eye, which makes it look a lot more realistic. Okay. Now, if you notice the coots, there's many different kind of patterns a coot might have on its beak. One of the patterns that it has, of course, is they generally paint a mouth on the coot, and that's usually just a small line right down here at the bottom. We'll just paint a small line right here on the bottom. Okay? And then secondly, there is generally a small amount of black that goes across the front end of the beak. So we'll just paint that on here. Okay, now we have a coot. It was that simple. Little grayish paint on the back, black paint for the head. You can either paint or put it on a glass eye, a little painting on the beak, or a painted eye, and you've got a coot that's ready to go for your next duck hunt. I hope this was helpful, and I'll certainly be happy to help anyone who's interested in trying to build or produce a coot decoy. Thank you.